Hey there, thanks for joining us today. In the next 20 minutes, we'll be discussing ways to optimize Snowflake spend and why viewing optimization through a user-first lens can help you better achieve your optimization goals. First, we'll start with the benefits of optimization and how to set a baseline through optimization basics, the why, the how, the when. Next, we'll discuss why you should consider a user experience approach, and then dig into a couple of case studies on how we achieved successful Snowflake cost optimizations by leveraging the user experience approach.
My name is Teresa Kovich. I'm a principal consultant with DOS42, leading the strategic direction of our projects. I've been with DOS42 for 6.5 years with a background in marketing and editorial. And today I focus on clients in media and entertainment, particularly publishing and streaming, business-to-business software as a service, healthcare, and retail and consumer packaged goods.
And I'm Laura McKinley. I'm also a principal consultant with DOS42. And my focus is primarily on media and entertainment, specifically streaming and gaming, as well as SaaS, so both B2B and B2C, and some retail. I've been a Snowflake user and implementation/optimization consultant on Snowflake for 5.5 years.
So DOS42 is a data consultancy that brings clarity and a modern point of view to managing, accessing, and using data to solve your most urgent business needs. We see the complex data issues you face and apply customized strategies to reach your goals. Every member of our deeply knowledgeable team is trained and empowered to engage end-to-end across all layers of your data ecosystem, giving you greater efficiency, scale, and flexibility to transform your organization for long-term success. We've been enabling clients to make the most out of their cloud-native technology since 2015. We've been Snowflake Elite partners since 2020, and we remain the only boutique consultancy to achieve that standing. And in 2022, we were honored with Snowflake's America's Innovation Award. Leading with our opinionated point of view, a cloud-first mentality, and our full-stack philosophy, we provide services ranging from data platform modernization and migration and self-service business intelligence to data and cloud strategy and governance. We also offer managed services for cloud technologies, including Snowflake, Fivetran, and Looker. Our clients have included Uber, Walmart, WeWork, Johnson & Johnson, Cigna, PopSockets, and Dropbox. So first, let's talk about the benefits of optimization. When some people hear optimize, they think dollar signs. Others might think of faster query times. It's true that optimizations can result in cost savings and improved runtimes, but we want to think of optimization from a broader perspective. We all want to make the most of our tools and do more with less. We'd love to free up time for our engineers to work on net improvements instead of putting out fires. We'd like to free up our spend and resource so that we can ingest and process more data. But we want to take optimization a step beyond just more and faster. Optimization is also about making sure that your tools are easy to use and understand, consistent, governed, trusted. Adoption is critical, and adoption and regular usage will be higher when you make things easy and natural for your end users. If your data gets used more, it will be understood better. And if it's understood better, it will make it easier to improve and improve faster. One of our core beliefs is that, as with many other areas of life and business, data comes with a hierarchy of needs. In other words, this new approach will be the most effective when built on top of a strong foundation. So, Laura, what do we mean by that?
Yes, we are here to talk about a user experience approach, but we also can't dismiss the basics of optimization. These are mostly technical, common sense checks that should be your baseline. Things like, is your code performant, your SQL and your DDL? Are you keeping your instance clean by setting a cadence to drop unused tables and dormant users? One thing we see at clients is that the more unruly an instance gets, the more difficult it can be to keep it optimized. Snowflake features that make this easier, like resource monitors, timeouts, and auto suspend and auto resume, should be leveraged. We recommend getting your best practice checklist easily accessible to you and your team and setting a regular check-in. This is the checklist we recommend to clients, so feel free to use it on your own instance. When should you check optimization? A few great opportunities are when a new data source is added, new aggregate modeling occurs, and with regularity using Data Cloud Monitoring Dashboard. Teresa?
Snowflake makes monitoring your instance health, spends, and performance easy with in-UI tools, including dashboards like this one that you can slice and dice different ways for different timeframes. Snowflake's account usage and information schema metadata views also give you the flexibility to run your own queries or build reporting and monitoring. And Snowflake is continually improving. At the 2023 Snowflake Summit, some new features released to private preview included a warehouse utilization metric and added budgeting and forecasting capabilities. Let me take you through a few more of our recommendations. An important part of instance maintenance is having goals and expectations. Benchmark your usage and performance and make a plan for how you expect these to change over the next 3, 6, and 12 months. As you're building out new content, new tables, and ingesting new data sources, be thoughtful about your build strategies. Consider data size, frequency of change, and impact of change to determine what kind of slowly changing dimensions you might need, for example. If you're operating on a daily drop and rebuild strategy, you may be missing out on the ability to capture helpful metadata. On the other hand, it can be easy to over-architect solutions too. Not every table requires full history, and it might be more effective to store history in a raw or landing layer and only your current values in the end user facing production layer. In short, be thoughtful about your build strategies and customize them to workloads and business needs. Another frequent shortfall we see is the mindset that data should always be as quote-unquote real-time as possible. In some organizations and businesses, this is a necessity. And in those cases, it's important to identify the right cadence. Live streaming versus updates every 5, 10, 15, or 60 minutes. But in other organizations, daily loads are quite sufficient to meet the business needs, and demands of real-time data should be addressed with a cost-benefit analysis. Another Snowflake feature we suggest you take advantage of is time travel, and not just because it sounds cool. Set time travel thresholds with the awareness of how long it takes you to identify issues. Depending on your change data capture strategy, you might want to be able to compare today's table to last week's, not just yesterday's. This may be more important for some tables and schemas than others. Be mindful of redundancies. Whenever possible, do your aggregation and transformations in your BI layer, enabling full granularity data exploration, rather than creating excessive and duplicative aggregate tables directly in Snowflake. Finally, of course, our key message, which Laura will now take you into, prioritize the user experience.
Technical basics are good. They're great, but where do you go from there? We see clients get to the point where they feel like they've maxed out optimization opportunities and are still not where they want to be. The next step we often recommend is to take a user experience approach. Why? Your business is growing, your stakeholder list is growing, and your data is certainly growing. As your business grows, it becomes more complex, which means so do the needs of your data customers. Understanding that those needs change is foundational to crafting an optimized data strategy. We're not talking about the needs that come in for X analysis or Y dashboard, but instead those driven by how users interact with the data, how they need their data to perform. Understanding these needs will help your data team make better decisions. It, of course, will help with prioritization of projects and resources, but will also help guide long-term architectural strategies and design patterns. A big one here is that your data is only as powerful as it is useful. Data at rest is a cost center. Conversely, if stakeholders can leverage data to make decisions, your business's data becomes a value multiplier. We've seen that taking a user experience perspective on optimization projects that aim to reduce friction in analysis, leads to higher rates of data utilization. The easier it is for your data customers to use their data, the likelier they are to incorporate data in their decision-making. The same strategies that lead to more efficient usage of data can often also drive down costs. How can you make it easier for data consumers? Don't use a guess and check strategy here. Ask the users. So, Teresa, how can data teams get started with a user experience approach?
The first steps to implement a UX-focused optimization strategy are to set up your systems and processes to support your work and make it easy to track what's happening in your systems end to end. First, make sure that your warehouses are named and appropriately differentiated, at minimum by tool and size. Set up query tagging to enable you to track costs at a more granular level. So in other words, tag backfills differently than regular cadence ingestion and transformation. And you want to be able to differentiate between your scheduled data science workloads and ad hoc exploration done by the data science team. Set up resource monitoring in Snowflake, but also take advantage of the account usage schema to build out monitoring dashboards and check these at a regular cadence. Next, make sure that you've set not only your high-level goals, but that you've designed a spend strategy driven by your business goals and growth areas. And last but not least, talk to your end users. Not just those who use Snowflake directly, but those who use downstream tools such as business intelligence and data science applications. Ask them about speed, performance, and latency. Ask them how they're using the systems. Do they check dashboards at the beginning and end of the day? Do they run queries throughout the day? Do they have scheduled jobs at certain times? Do they understand and trust the data? Do they have appropriate resources? Are they making up their own metrics or using standard pre-built calculations? Make sure that they understand the current service level agreements and ask whether these SLAs make sense to them. How would it impact them if data was updated less frequently or earlier or later in the day? The fact that you're listening to us means that you're a data person of some stripe, but we've found that this part doesn't go without saying. Use your data to monitor the health of your data systems. Of course, you're also taking advantage of the insights of your users, but bringing the two together is the way to create the full picture. Neither the users nor the data are going to be able to tell you everything you need to know. In addition to usage patterns by warehouse, like we see in this visualization, we may want to explore things like latency, queue time, and disk spillage to help us identify where pain points may lie. Finally, let's talk about how DOS42 has put these practices to use for two of our recent enterprise clients. Our first case study is with Insider, who you might know as Business Insider, an online news media company. Our main work at Insider was a migration project, but we started our engagement with Insider by performing our standard audit processes on their data tools, including Snowflake, Looker, Fivetran, and Airflow. We made targeted recommendations to improve efficiency, consistency, and interoperability. We also created a strategic roadmap for their business intelligence tools and identified a goal to rein in Snowflake spend so that there was sufficient budget for backfills and new workloads that end users needed. With benchmarking and using a set of monitoring dashboards originally designed for DOS42's managed service clients, we ultimately helped Insider reduce Snowflake spend by 23% month over month through a combination of basic best practices, such as fine-tuning warehouse sizes and identifying over and under clustering, and user-focused improvements, such as identifying the common usage patterns in their BI tool and implementing granularity control and aggregate awareness to result in faster, more efficient queries. We were also able to redirect spend away from their intensive anomaly detection algorithms. We identified when results were actually being monitored and reduced run frequency during off hours.
The second case study for review is an engagement we had with a large fintech company. This is an interesting one because the initial focus of the project wasn't directly Snowflake related, but rather stemmed from their business intelligence platform. BI users were raising concerns that their dashboards and queries weren't fast enough, and that the tools were difficult to navigate due to too much bulk. We started by interviewing the BI users across teams and functions, ranging from product to finance to customer service, to understand what the users meant by optimization. What were they trying to achieve? How were they using data to make decisions and do their jobs? Part of this was to focus on personas. How could we group users? Was it by function, decisions, how they use their data, level within the company? And then took a deep look at persona usage patterns. We reviewed how warehouses were set up in Snowflake for their BI and analytics, started tagging queries for tracking, reviewed Snowflake monitoring dashboards, and examined ingest patterns against high-low usage times. At the end of the project, we were able to achieve a 40% drop in month-over-month BI warehouse credit usage, which equated to saving nearly $30,000 in monthly spend. How did we achieve this? These and usage patterns, we decided to provision additional warehouses based on a few key personas and specific use cases. These persona-based warehouses focused on enabling top-level decision makers like VPs and C-suite to ensure that their time to insight was unhindered. A small number of high-priority use cases were spiking runtime, causing queuing of other queries and unnecessarily impacting other users' experience. We gave these a specific warehouse, which had the additional benefit of enabling targeted tuning, as well as tagging for backcharge to that business unit. We also looked at adjusting ingest and ELT schedules based on the time of day users were actually needing the data. This is something Teresa touched on earlier, how usage patterns combined with latency and freshness can help you optimize ingest schedules, helping to avoid over-optimization and unnecessary uptime on ingest and ELT warehouses. On the technical side, we achieved additional optimization on the compiled SQL, like avoiding joins on dates. We dug into the SQL that the BI tool is actually compiling and querying on Snowflake to find ways to improve the interoperability of the stack. And finally, the more significant change we made was to partially redesign their data model to better reflect how stakeholders were actually using their data. One factor was reducing the number of models overall to make for a more streamlined experience. This led to a reduction in unnecessary queries, so queries that were running without driving a business use case, by about 25%. Additionally, this improved overall performance by reducing queue times. This meant users weren't facing an experience where queries that should have been fast appeared artificially slow. There's not much more frustrating than getting to the checkout line with one item, only to see that the line snakes back and forth with Costco-sized carts. With this model design, we were able to drive down queue times by 37%, or an average of 8 seconds. One important note is that this drop in credit usage was not a result of a drop in user demand. During this period, stakeholder usage stayed constant. Instead, our emphasis on how users were experiencing their data, focusing on patterns, personas, and what usage data told us, allowed the client to optimize their Snowflake costs without sacrificing usability.
In the weeks and months ahead, as you continue your journey with Snowflake and your other data tools, we hope that this framework helps you to take better advantage both of your data tools and the knowledge and experiences of your user base. We encourage data-driven listeners to visit DOS42.com, take our free data maturity assessment, and take a look at some of our thought leadership, including takes on the latest Snowflake feature releases and further tips on how to right-size your data warehouses. Thanks for listening, and DOS speed.